The Queen's Cipher, the royal key discovery of the encrypted letters in the shadowed halls of London, where history and secrecy intertwine. MI6 maintained its quiet vigil over the heart of Britain's monarchy. The year was 1952, a period when the world was reshaping itself after the devastations of war, and the monarchy, like the nation, sought to stabilize amid uncertainty. It was during these uncertain times that an extraordinary discovery was made, one that would become known as the Queen's Cipher. The discovery began quietly, almost imperceptibly, in the archives beneath Whitehall. MI6’s Cryptography Division, long accustomed to solving seemingly impossible codes from foreign adversaries, encountered a collection of letters and dispatches that defied all known encryption methods. Each document was marked with symbols and ciphers that suggested a layer of complexity far beyond conventional espionage techniques. These were not the work of ordinary foreign spies. This was a code that seemed designed to survive centuries, tied inexorably to the institution of the monarchy itself. The first breakthrough came when young analyst Edward Eddie Hawthorne, recently recruited from Cambridge, noticed recurring patterns that hinted at a polyalphabetic cipher interwoven with historical references. It was a sophisticated construct, blending linguistic precision with historical events, requiring a deep understanding of Britain's past as well as cryptography. Hawthorne's initial attempts at decoding produced fragments, names, dates, and locations, but the overarching message remained elusive. Each revelation seemed to open more questions than answers, a web of secrecy designed to protect the Crown's most sensitive communications. MI6 recognized immediately that this was not merely an intellectual challenge. It was a matter of national security. The letters contained sensitive information regarding diplomatic alliances, military strategies, and the subtle mechanisms of influence that the monarchy held across Europe. Whoever had encoded these messages understood both the importance of the content and the necessity of total secrecy. MI6 directors convened a special task force. It's composed of cryptanalysts, historians, and operatives with a deep knowledge of Europe's royal networks. Their mission: to unlock the Queen's Cipher before it could fall into the wrong hands. The operation's first phase involved cataloging and preserving every known letter, dispatch, and historical document that might serve as a key. Special attention was given to references spanning centuries, connecting the current monarch's correspondence to traditions and precedents established long before her reign. Analysts pored over marginal notes, faded stamps, and even the ink itself, discovering subtle clues embedded in handwriting style and phrasing. Each document was treated like a puzzle piece, a fragment of a larger design whose edges were still invisible. Meanwhile, London itself seemed to acknowledge the gravity of the situation. Silent couriers moved discreetly between Whitehall and the palace, delivering new documents or retrieving encrypted letters from trusted royal aides. The streets remained oblivious to the quiet tension beneath their feet, unaware that a hidden war of intelligence was unfolding, not against an enemy nation, but against the invisible logic of a code older and more complex than most could comprehend. By the end of the first month, Hawthorne and his colleagues had identified a recurring motif: an elaborate cipher key embedded within the royal seals themselves. It was a revelation that transformed MI6's approach. The Queen's Cipher was not a static message, but a dynamic one, capable of evolving over time. The very symbols of monarchy became integral to the code, linking tradition with the innovation of modern cryptography. The discovery of the royal key marked the beginning of a decade-long investigation, one that would take MI6 operatives across Europe, tracing hidden channels of communication and unraveling secrets deliberately designed to endure. The task force understood that failure was not an option. The security of the Crown, the integrity of British intelligence, and the trust of allied nations depended upon their ability to decode messages that had resisted understanding for generations. The royal key was not merely a tool, it was a gateway into the hidden mind of the monarchy, a symbol of the enduring link between history, intelligence, and secrecy. MI6 had taken its first step into an enigmatic world where letters spoke in shadows, and every cipher was a story waiting to be told. And so began the long and meticulous journey to understand the Queen's Cipher. A journey that would test the very limits of cryptography and espionage. As the royal key had revealed its first secrets, MI6 understood that discovering the cipher was only half the battle. Equally crucial was the protection of the knowledge it contained. Within the silent corridors of the agency, a new layer of guardianship emerged. Operatives whose names would never be recorded in public histories, yet whose actions ensured the security of Britain's monarchy and national interests. These silent guardians operated in shadows, blending into London's ordinary life. They were intelligence officers who knew that even the smallest breach could compromise decades of covert communication. Every courier, analyst, and palisade was scrutinized. Their movements coordinated with precision, their loyalty tested through intricate protocols. This was a world where trust was measured in actions, not words, and where a single misstep could unravel a web of information painstakingly built over centuries. At the center of this operation was Agent Margaret Maggs Whitford, a veteran with a reputation for meticulous planning. Her expertise lay not in breaking codes, but in protecting them, ensuring that sensitive correspondence never reached unauthorized eyes. Under her leadership, MI6 implemented a network of controlled access points throughout London and key European capitals. Letters containing encrypted messages were transported in reinforced cases. Often disguised as mundane documents, sometimes carried by trusted couriers who appeared to be simple civil servants or couriers delivering everyday packages. Every step of the process was layered with redundancy. Decoys were sent along parallel routes to confuse potential interceptors. Secret compartments within vehicles, hidden pouches in clothing, and invisible ink techniques were all employed to guarantee that the cipher secrets remained inviolate. Maggs frequently reminded her team, "The code is only as secure as the people who carry it," a mantra that guided every mission. From London to the quiet alleys of Paris and the discreet townhouses of Brussels, MI6's surveillance extended beyond physical protection. The agency understood that technology and information networks were evolving rapidly. Telephones, telegraphs, and early forms of secure radio communication were constantly monitored for intrusion attempts. Even within the agency, every analyst's work was compartmentalized, ensuring that no single individual held the complete picture. Knowledge was distributed carefully, shared on a strict need-to-know basis, creating a lattice of secrecy designed to withstand both espionage and betrayal. But the greatest threat was never from foreign intelligence alone. Rogue insiders, ambitious historians, or even overzealous royal aides could inadvertently reveal fragments of the cipher. MI6 instituted subtle behavioral assessments and background checks that became part of daily operations. Every interaction was observed, every anomaly investigated. In one notable case, a junior clerk had inadvertently left an encrypted letter unattended, prompting an immediate review of all internal protocols, reminder that vigilance could never waver, no matter how routine the task. The silent guardians also coordinated with the monarchy itself. Courtiers were trained in discreet communication, palace staff instructed in handling sensitive correspondence, and even the monarch's personal aides became integral nodes in a larger intelligence framework. It was a partnership built on mutual trust, requiring MI6 to maintain both respect for the institution and unwavering dedication to its secrecy. As months turned into years, the silent guardians ensured that the Queen's Cipher remained secure, its contents shielded from prying eyes and its significance understood by only a select few. The operation became a testament to MI6's ability to protect not just the nation, but its most cherished symbols, blending traditional espionage with an unprecedented level of operational security. By the end of this phase, the royal key had served its purpose. It had not only revealed fragments of the cipher, but also demonstrated the lengths MI6 would go to protect Britain's crown. In the hands of the silent guardians, the Queen's Cipher became more than a code. It was a living testament to the quiet, invisible strength of an agency dedicated to safeguarding history, power, and national security. London, a city of history and power, had always been the beating heart of Britain's intelligence operations. By the mid-1950s, the streets of Westminster hid more than politics. They concealed a web of covert activity orchestrated by MI6, a network so precise that it seemed almost invisible to the untrained eye. The discovery of the Queen's Cipher had intensified the agency's focus on the capital, turning every corner, alley, and corridor into potential ground for espionage. The shadows of Westminster were not literal shadows, the careful orchestration of movement, communication, and observation. Operatives known only by their code names slipped through the city like ghosts, blending into crowds, attending events, or working quietly behind the doors of government offices. Their objective was clear: to monitor and secure every possible route through which the Queen's Cipher could be threatened. One of the earliest operations took place near Whitehall, where an intercepted courier had raised suspicions. The operative, a man of calm demeanor and precise habit, had unknowingly become a pawn in a larger intelligence game. MI6 agents followed him discreetly, documenting his routines, contacts, and movements without alerting him. Surveillance teams positioned themselves atop buildings in taxis and even within government offices. Every shadow, every glance, every gesture became part of a meticulous record that would later reveal an intricate network of communication, potentially linked to foreign intelligence services. The agency also employed unconventional methods to gather information: invisible ink, microfilm hidden in everyday objects, and coded messages disguised as mundane paperwork became standard tools. Even public telephone booths and early teletype machines were monitored to intercept patterns that could hint at attempts to penetrate the cipher's secrecy. Analysts worked around the clock, piecing together fragments of information with the precision of surgeons, understanding that a single misstep could compromise decades of effort. MI6 operatives also relied on human intelligence-trusted contacts within London's civil and social networks who could report unusual activity. Tea rooms, private clubs, and even theaters became observation points. Agents often posed as journalists, academics, or diplomats, their cover so meticulously crafted that it could withstand intense scrutiny. The city itself became a chessboard, with the operatives moving silently, anticipating threats before they materialized. At the center of this web was Agent Thomas Hawk Callahan, a master of surveillance and counterintelligence. Known for his unassuming appearance and keen observational skills, Hawk coordinated the movements of multiple teams across Westminster. He developed intricate schedules to ensure that every route used for transporting cipher-related documents was constantly monitored and protected. No movement went unnoticed. No anomaly was dismissed. Under his guidance, MI6's operations became a seamless dance of coordination, patience, and vigilance. Yet, even in the shadows, danger was never absent. Foreign agents, aware that London was the seat of Britain's power, tempted to infiltrate networks and intercept the cipher. MI6 responded with counterintelligence strategies that blurred the lines between reality and illusion. False couriers, decoy letters, and misleading trails were created to misdirect potential threats, ensuring that the Queen's Cipher remained untouchable. Each operation required absolute discretion, and the consequences of exposure were both immediate and severe. The shadows of Westminster demonstrated MI6's ability to adapt, combining traditional surveillance with innovative espionage techniques. From rooftops overlooking Parliament to hidden rooms beneath historic buildings, the city became both a battlefield and a fortress. Every encrypted message, every movement of sensitive documents was safeguarded through layers of ingenuity and courage. By the conclusion of this phase, MI6 had solidified its control over London's covert environment. The city's iconic streets, its historic halls, and the very air seemed to carry the invisible presence of the agency. The Queen's Cipher remained secure, its secrets protected not just by cryptography, but by the relentless vigilance of the shadows of Westminster operatives whose work ensured that Britain's crown could navigate a world of emerging threats with quiet assurance and unseen precision. The discovery of the Queen's cipher and the silent protection of its secrets were only the beginning. Soon, MI6 realized that knowledge alone could not secure the monarchy. They had to actively pursue those who sought to exploit or decipher the code for their own ends. Thus began the Cipher chase, a relentless pursuit of hidden threats that spanned London, Europe, and beyond. The first signs of danger were subtle. Minor discrepancies in courier routes, unusual inquiries from seemingly innocuous individuals, and intercepted foreign communications suggested that someone, somewhere, had taken an interest in the Queen's cipher. MI6 could not underestimate these signals. The cipher was not just a code, it was a symbol of national power, and those who wished to breach it were determined and resourceful. At the helm of the cipher chase was Agent Philip Rook Cartwright, an expert in counterintelligence and field operations. Rook had a reputation for patience and precision, the kind of operative who could spend weeks following a single lead without alerting the subject. He quickly organized a network of surveillance teams, tracking suspicious activity from London's bustling streets to the quiet corners of European capitals where encrypted communications might have been intercepted. The chase involved a delicate balance of stealth and strategy. MI6 employed double agents to feed false information to suspected adversaries, creating a web of deception that made it increasingly difficult for anyone to locate the cipher's true pathways. Shadow couriers were dispatched, some carrying decoy messages while the real encrypted letters moved through parallel, unseen channels. Every move was calculated, anticipating not only the immediate threat, but potential contingencies that could emerge weeks or months later. MI6 responded with coordinated raids, undercover meetings, and covert surveillance. Teams moved quietly through cafes, train stations, and private residences, always observing, recording, and analyzing. While ensuring that the Queen's cipher remained untouchable, the cipher chase was not a pursuit of brute force. It was a meticulous game of intellect, patience, and anticipation. Analysts in London cross-referenced historical data, intercepted communications, and behavioral patterns, predicting the moves of potential adversaries before they could act. By the end of this phase, the cipher chase had demonstrated the dynamic nature of MI6's operations. The Queen's cipher was no longer a static target. It was a moving objective, constantly protected, constantly defended, and constantly studied. The chase proved that the greatest threat was never just the code itself, but those who would attempt to breach it. And MI6 had proven that it could stay one step ahead, blending vigilance, strategy, and intelligence into a seamless defense. The pursuit was far from over, but with each intercepted lead, each neutralized threat, the Queen's cipher remained secure, a testament to the agency's relentless commitment to safeguarding Britain. crown and the secrets that preserved its enduring power. While the cipher chase unfolded across London and European capitals, MI6 understood that the most insidious threats often came not from the outside, but from within. The invisible hand was the agency's term for the network of operatives, analysts, and palace insiders who worked silently behind the throne, ensuring that the Queen's cipher remained impenetrable and that the monarchy's communications flowed securely, without ever drawing attention to the layers of protection surrounding them. This operation required a different kind of skill: subtlety over force, influence over confrontation. MI6's operatives had to navigate the corridors of power without being seen, creating a mesh of intelligence and counterintelligence that enveloped the monarchy like an unseen shield. Their presence was never acknowledged, their achievements never recorded publicly. Yet the integrity of Britain's crown depended upon their precision and discretion. At the forefront of this network was Agent Eleanor Nell Harper, a master of infiltration and psychological insight. Nell's role was not to decode the cipher or track foreign spies, but to ensure that every human factor: palace staff, couriers, and even diplomats acted in a way that preserved secrecy. Her work involved identifying potential vulnerabilities, subtle inconsistencies in behavior, and even the unconscious habits that might compromise sensitive information. A fleeting glance, a hesitated step, or an unusual pattern of correspondence could all signify a risk. MI6 developed intricate routines to safeguard the cipher within the palace itself. Letters and encrypted messages were never handled by a single individual. Each task was divided into stages, with multiple operatives cross-checking procedures. Documents were disguised as ordinary correspondence, delivered under the guise of routine duties, and monitored from a distance to detect any anomaly. Even ceremonial events became opportunities to mask intelligence movements, with coded communications embedded in seemingly innocuous interactions. The invisible hand extended beyond physical security. MI6 analysts continuously examined diplomatic traffic, anticipating potential threats to the Queen's cipher from foreign intelligence services. They employed counter-surveillance measures, encrypted communications, and secret observation posts to monitor the activities of both insiders and outsiders. The goal was to create an environment in which the cipher could exist securely, invisible to those who sought to exploit it, and untouchable even to those who were close enough to see it every day. One remarkable episode involved the interception of a subtle attempt by a foreign operative to infiltrate the palace. Using a combination of disguise, forged credentials, and misdirection, the agent had gained proximity to the cipher's transportation routes. MI6 operatives identified the threat through a combination of behavioral observation and cryptographic anomaly detection, neutralizing the risk without alerting the intruder. It was a perfect example of the invisible hand at work, preventing disaster before it could manifest, silently and efficiently. This phase also highlighted the psychological dimension of espionage. MI6's operatives had to anticipate human error, leverage loyalty, and subtly guide the actions of those around them. Their influence was invisible, yet decisive. Staff members moved as if unaware, couriers followed routine paths, and diplomats conducted their affairs, all under the careful orchestration of agents who existed in the shadows. Every action contributed to a lattice of security that preserved the integrity of the cipher and, by extension, the monarchy itself. By the conclusion of this stage, the invisible hand had firmly embedded itself within the palace, a silent guardian ensuring that the Queen's cipher remained untouchable. MI6 had demonstrated that true power in espionage was not always in confrontation or pursuit, but in anticipation, subtlety, and control. The code continued to resist decryption, but its protection was now absolute. Woven seamlessly into the very fabric of Britain's intelligence apparatus, the stage was set for the final confrontation with the cipher itself, a culmination of years of observation, strategy, and unwavering dedication. The invisible hand had maintained security, but the ultimate test understanding the code's full complexity and legacy was approaching. demanding a final, meticulous approach that would define MI6's mastery of espionage behind the throne. After years of relentless investigation, the Queen's cipher had proven itself more than a mere collection of letters or cryptic symbols. It was a living enigma, a code that seemed designed to endure time itself. MI6 had devoted generations of operatives, analysts, and cryptographers to uncover its secrets, yet the cipher had consistently resisted attempts at full decryption. It had become a symbol of the monarchy's enduring ingenuity, a testament to the precision and foresight of those who had created it, and a reflection of MI6's unwavering commitment to protect Britain's crown. The final phase of the operation was not marked by confrontation or dramatic captures. It was defined by observation, understanding, and preservation. Analysts meticulously cataloged every known fragment, every recurring pattern, and every historical reference embedded within the code. Each discovery added a layer of comprehension, revealing connections that spanned centuries, linking Britain's present with its intricate past. Even as full decryption remained elusive, the agency had achieved mastery over the cipher's operational security, ensuring that it could never be exploited by adversaries. This phase also underscored the broader implications of the cipher. Beyond the letters and symbols, it represented the invisible threads of influence and diplomacy that the monarchy wielded across Europe. The code reflected not only strategic intelligence, but also the careful cultivation of trust, secrecy, and stability. MI6 understood that some ciphers were not meant to be broken entirely. Their true value lay in their existence, in the assurance that certain knowledge remained protected, untouchable, and inviolate. In London, the operatives who had spent years guarding and chasing the cipher reflected on their work with quiet pride. Agent Eleanor Nell Harper, Agent Thomas Hawke Callahan, and Agent Philip Rooke Cartwright, along with countless others whose names would never appear in public records, recognized that they had participated in a unique chapter of intelligence history. Their efforts had preserved the integrity of the monarchy and safeguarded Britain's strategic advantage, demonstrating the extraordinary power of patience, discretion, and precision. MI6 also ensured that the cipher's legacy would endure beyond their own tenure. The agency developed detailed protocols for future generations of operatives, embedding lessons learned into training programs, secure archives, and operational manuals. Even if the cipher itself remained only partially understood, the knowledge of how to protect and manage it became a cornerstone of British intelligence doctrine. In essence, MI6 had transformed the Queen's cipher into both a shield and a teaching tool code that refused to fall, yet imparted enduring wisdom to those who safeguarded it. Across Europe, the story of the Queen's cipher remained largely invisible, known only to a select few who had participated directly or observed its protection. Foreign intelligence agencies, despite their best efforts, could only speculate on its contents. Their attempts at decryption consistently thwarted by layers of security, surveillance, and operational ingenuity. The cipher had become untouchable, a silent guardian of Britain's sovereignty, and a reminder of the nation's capacity for foresight and subtlety in an increasingly complex world. The legacy of the Queen's cipher extended beyond the documents themselves. It symbolized the collaboration between monarchy and intelligence, the melding of tradition with modern espionage, and the dedication of MI6's operatives who had worked tirelessly, often unseen, to protect the very foundations of Britain's power. It was a testament to the idea that some secrets, though never fully revealed, could shape history simply by remaining secure. In the end, the Queen's cipher endured not as a solved puzzle, but as a living testament to code that refused to fall, a crown that remained protected, and an intelligence service that had proven its ability to navigate the delicate balance between secrecy strategy and the unyielding march of time. MI6 had safeguarded not only a cipher, but the invisible essence of a nation's legacy, ensuring that Britain's story, its crown, and its secrets remained intact for generations to come.